Welcome to another edition of NetStruc Talks. It's your host, Sharon Lee, publicity strategist, and also the host for NetStruc Talks. And NetStruc Talks is an information show that provides valuable information for consumers and entrepreneurs on personal and professional growth. My motto is tell us something that we don't know that will help us be a better person and business owner. Each show, I have an amazing guest that not only wowed me with their story, but has accomplished so much in their career. And today, my guest provides entrepreneurs from nightmares of bookkeeping and taxes to planning a profitable business. Stay tuned. Welcome, and it's Sharon Lee again, and I have my guest here, Hope Brown, who is a certified bookkeeper and tax strategist. Good morning, Hope. How are you?
Good morning, Sharon. I am doing great. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you so much. You are in a business, you are in an industry that is so much needed for small businesses, bookkeeping and tax strategy. I mean, that is like, all of us have gone through a nightmare because we don't know it. And having somebody like you that can make things much more simpler can help a lot of nightmares and tears and everything else that goes horrible when it comes to not having your books correct and dealing with Uncle Sam. So I really want to thank you for taking the time to meet with us and talk to us a little bit about what an entrepreneur really needs to do, whether they are getting new into the business, but you also deal with seasonal businesses also, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you have to look at, there are so many different factors that can affect your business from a tax perspective or record keeping compliance perspective. It depends on your entity type, what industry you're in, so many things to consider. That business owners, unfortunately, sometimes we're working in our goal, in our zone of genius. So, the money part, the tax part, that's not the fun part. No one wants to talk about that, but that's the kind of services that we bring. Just putting that on the radar and at least making sure that you understand what your options are and what you need to do to stay compliant.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now let's go back a little. Now you have been in this industry for a long time. You are a certified bookkeeper and a tax strategist. Did you initially start out the tax minded bookkeeping just as a bookkeeper? Or did you start out with both of them because you saw the need? Like, how did the brain child start?
Yeah, that's a good question. So it started for me. So I started off as a licensed tax preparer. So did that for about 12 years. And what would happen is every tax season, in about like late January, February, I would have business owners start to come to me and they wanted to get their taxes, prepared. So, normal stuff. But when it came to understanding their record keeping, like, okay, what are your expenses? Let's talk about the income. Their records were like either non-existent or if they were existent, just all over the place. So, I would just see, we would literally in like a day or two trying to be organizing and pull together a whole years of last year's tax information and missing out on so many different opportunities to save on taxes. So it started with one client, turned to two, who were my original tax clients. And they were like, listen, this stuff. Like, please help us with the bookkeeping during the year. And I broke down, and that two clients turned to five and so on. And before you knew it, the Tax Minded Bookkeeper was born.
Wow. That's an amazing story. That's
Mhm.
an amazing story because, again, I fall privy to that, when I go and I sit down with my tax person, and I've learned,
Mhm.
because, he's like, in the middle of the year, in the beginning of the year,
Yeah.
the middle of the year, close to the end, he constantly is like, are you documenting everything? Are you
Yes, you
doing?
have to
So
share.
now, yeah, so now I'm well trained.
I
I'm
didn't say
well
that. You said that now,
I'm
but
saying it.
this is a
I
good
am well
thing.
trained. And
Yes,
so, I have my spreadsheet, I got my
yes,
receipts, I have
yes.
everything. But,
Great.
some people jump into business
Mhm,
thinking, I want to make my own money. I want to do this. And there's certain things that they are just not doing, which is documenting all of
mhm.
their expenses, document. And so when someone comes to you initially,
Mhm,
and they come to you with a shoebox
mhm.
of receipts.
I'll take them. So, or okay, okay, we gotta give grace, all right, because we all gotta start somewhere.
Right.
But the first thing I try to help them understand as a business owner is, okay, I know this is your business, this is your baby, but the mere fact that the IRS sees you now as a business means that you have certain compliance responsibilities. So
Mhm.
the IRS actually requires us as business owners to do record keeping. There's actually tax law, tax publications that are out to say, hey, business owner, you're supposed to be keeping these type of records during the year as you're conducting business. And the main, so there are several benefits of doing that as a business owner, but from a tax perspective, for one, it's going to mean you're compliant because that's the information that's going to be used to go into your tax return. So
Mhm.
that's why the IRS cares. They want to make sure you're not just making this stuff up and it's accurate. So, again, getting back to that situation where that person who has never done any kind of record keeping, just helping them understand, like, okay, this is why you need to do it. And then we start to approach, like, okay, so how do we do it?
Right.
What's going to be the best solution to help you be better organized next time this year?
It's a
Yep.
planning, it's a strategy, so
Absolutely.
and it's really, really important because like
Mhm.
what you said, one, it does a couple of things. One, it gets you organized as a
Mhm.
business owner, and two,
Mhm.
you're in compliance with IRS. And that's the
Absolutely.
biggest key.
Yep.
We go into business and we think I'm going to make all this money and I'm going to do all of this and I'm going to do all of that, but forgetting the key components with
Mhm.
your business, which is being in compliance, having your
Mhm.
proper legal status and everything. So all of those plays a huge, huge part. So, we're in the beginning of the year
Mhm.
and, everybody, is happy. They did everything for the Christmas, for the holidays and whatever. So now we're here, quarter one.
Mhm.
What are some tax planning tips that
Mhm.
a business owner should be aware of?
Yeah, so I always like to meet business owners at the beginning of the year because the analogy I like to give is it's like, okay, you need to lose that 10 pounds. Everybody buys that gym membership, like, I'm gonna get it right this year. I'm gonna get it right this year. Like, I love that energy, I love that enthusiasm. So the first thing that I want to talk to a business owner who's in that frame of mind, like, first of all, give yourself some grace, okay? If you've never embraced before record keeping, accounting, and those kind of things, like, it's all right. Like, you are brilliant in your zone of genius, but get someone to possibly help you set up a record keeping accounting strategy, so to speak, so that you can really understand, number one, and what a process could be. What could that look like during a year when income's coming in and expenses are going out, to properly just track that,
Mhm,
and know what's happening with that.
mhm,
Just empowering you with some type of accounting system, method, spreadsheet, some kind of process in place. So as these months are going on in 2024, you're like, all right, I know I spent this. I need to record it this way. I know I made this income. I need to record it that way. Like, you have a process in place. But I definitely think also you probably want to be working with someone who can help you set that up. It's almost like that gym, I'm losing weight analogy. It's
mhm,
nothing like having a trainer to kind of get you acclimated to the gym and maybe give you some kind of routine that you'll be doing during the year so you can, just get your stuff together and be on
mhm,
top of it.
mhm. And you talk about just, the first steps.
Mhm.
It's hard for people, especially if they're seasonal.
Mhm.
and they've been doing the shoemaker, as you know, what my dad says, you're doing a shoemaker style type of thing.
Yeah, that is
But
scary.
yeah, so I know you have
Yeah.
the nightmares, the woes,
Mhm.
but you give them the assurance of that this can be corrected.
Mhm.
And I want everybody to understand that yes, you
Mhm.
might be a tax consultant or a tax
Mhm.
preparer's nightmare or a bookkeeper's nightmare, but hope is here to tell you that there is hope.
There is hope. When we know better, we do better. How about
Right.
that? Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. And that's why you are in this business, because your line of work is so critical.
Mhm.
People just think that they could do it themselves.
Mhm.
And just like with me as a publicist, I tell
Mhm.
people, listen, you going into business to do what your skill is. You
Yes.
know, doing publicity work, it takes a lot of time. It
Mhm.
takes a lot of skills. Not to say you can't do it, but you're
Mhm.
taken away from what you need to, what your skills are. And
Mhm.
this, what you're doing, is very, very critical, because if you mess up,
Mhm.
it could be detrimental to your business, and it could be a
Yeah.
lot of repairing,
It can
fines
be
or
expensive.
whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
it could get expensive. So
Yeah.
I'm really glad that you are here to talk
Mhm.
to us about this, to talk about that there is a strategy,
Mhm.
there is a plan, there is something that is put in place for small businesses to
Mhm.
do, that you don't have to be in that nightmare zone or whatever.
Yes, exactly. Plan. I mean, you ever heard the expression preparation meets opportunity? You got to be, and the preparation is the foundation that you're doing during the year. And the
Mhm,
opportunity will be all those all of those tax savings that you'll be able to enjoy, like, during the tax season.
mhm.
But you just showing up for that tax appointment, and you just bringing that shoebox, nobody's going to win from that situation. Your tax person's not going to like you. Like, you're going to be missing out on organized information. Like, you're probably going to be missing out on expenses that you forgot to put in that shoebox, for example. Like, that's just not a productive way to run a business.
Right,
Simple as
right.
that.
Right. And I know, me personally, I actually have a folder, like, for
Mhm.
all of my
Mhm.
receipts, or I have the credit card, the business
Mhm.
credit card that I use for everything on there for the
Yeah.
business. But for that person that that they, what are other ways that they can log in, and when they
Mhm.
come to you, they're
Mhm.
like, hope, this is what I have. Like,
Mhm.
like I was told,
Yeah.
use your business credit card. If
Mhm.
you have receipts that you
So
have to get, that's great. But is there anything else that they can do that will make
yeah.
your work as well as their work much easier?
I would say that the top 2 tips that we're giving people this time of the year, okay, we're at the beginning of the calendar year, is number 1, have, a separate bank account for business activities in your business, meaning, you should have a business bank account for checking, maybe one for savings, and then also a business credit card if you can. If the business is not eligible for a credit card at this time, at least have a debit card that you can use for charges back and forth for the business. And what that's going to do, even if you're not doing the bookkeeping during the year, one thing that's going to really, it's going to be life changing for you is that there's one account that you're going to have to go to come tax season to at least start to organize that information,
Mhm.
versus it being on the personal card, it being, in the personal account, and trying to get all that stuff together. It's a nightmare sometimes, and it definitely lowers the threshold for accuracy, when you're trying to organize stuff. Then again, the second thing I would say is, don't be afraid of like an accounting system such as QuickBooks, FreshBooks, Zero. Wave Accounting is a free software system, but hook those business bank accounts, those big business credit card accounts, hook up those accounts to whatever that accounting system is of choice. Because another thing that you're going to be able to do with that is, you're going to be able to see and actually create financial reports with the data that's coming in and out of your business.
Mhm.
Because during the year, I don't know about you, but I like to know when I'm making money in a month versus when I'm not making money. But the only real way you can do that is to have one central location, such as an accounting system, to track income, expenses, and show you what your net profit is every month. So
Mhm.
just two of the bare basic things I would tell someone just coming to my office to say, hey, I know I got to get it together. What do I need to do? Have that
Right.
separate bank account, and let's talk about some bookkeeping options to organize that data that's going to be generated in those accounts.
That's vital information, especially the separate bank account. I know a lot
Mhm.
of businesses, cross-populate with their personal business, with their personal account.
Co-mingling. That's a
Yeah,
bad word,
commingling
Sharon.
and yeah, exactly. They're
Yeah,
doing all of that,
yeah.
and it you know like what you said, the documentation and
Mhm,
just putting everything together. It's all over the place. Whereas you have one central place where you're doing this. But let me ask you another question, and
mhm,
I know people are thinking this also, especially if they're new business owners.
mhm,
Is it bad to use your personal debit card or your personal checking account?
mhm,
um, you do have a business one, but is it
mhm.
bad to use the other one every so often?
So we just had a training course in this yesterday. I have a QuickBooks like DIY business owner like membership group, and we just had a session on this yesterday. So yeah, so it happens sometimes. So you have a couple of situations where the business owner may be using personal funds, all right, to fund the business.
Mhm,
Oops, I basically either I have to invest that money in my business, or maybe it was an accident or whatever. I would say if you have to do it, you have to do it. But just make sure that you are coming up with a way to keep track of that while you're doing it. Because again, I have seen, so for example, we have a couple of business owners who are in QuickBooks. So let's say I went out to, yeah, I don't know, TJ Maxx. Let's make it fun. I went out to TJ Maxx, got me some cute little outfits, but hey, I saw this office desk organizer that I wanted to get. And I got it. I'm going to use that for business purposes. But what I see happen in a lot of cases is that if I'm not recording that immediately in like the business end, sometimes business owners will forget that they use those funds, those personal funds, and later on they've missed out on that expense opportunity because they didn't immediately, put it into like the business bucket, or take that receipt and put it in that shoebox. Like they
mhm,
just forgot that quick. And
right.
then later on, when they're doing their total expenses for the month, for the year, for whatever they're doing, that gets left out. So that's kind of like one of the downsides of having to use your personal funds. If you do, you definitely want to make sure that you're documenting it like very quickly so it doesn't get left out. But then two, if you're in an accounting system, there's a correct way to document that as a owner's investment, that type of thing.
Mm,
You can consider questions like, okay, am I investing in the business with a loan to the business? Am I wanting to get back? That's when you're getting into the real accounting of a business and really making those kind of decisions. Because some people, when they're starting their business, they want to invest money and that's cool. But when that business gets profitable, they want their money back. So,
mhm.
we want to think about things like that as we're putting money, quote unquote, our personal funds into the business.
Wow. Okay. No,
I know that was
definitely.
heavy, but
No, no,
okay.
I know, listen, inquiring
Mhm,
minds want to know. So I know
mhm.
people are listening and have that in their head, because I know people
Yeah.
say, don't use your personal account. Don't use your personal account. But
Yes, you
what
got
you
to.
said,
Yeah.
you said it, you said something that made so much sense, that if you have your own personal money that you are investing in your business,
Mhm.
then obviously it's going to be coming from your personal account. But you have to
Yes.
document it to make sure that it is, documented in the right place and you
Mhm.
don't forget. So you have
Yes.
to do it in real time, which is
Yes.
it's important. It really,
Yes.
really is important. So I have another thing here. There's a final estimate tax payment due in
Mhm.
January. Talk
Mhm.
about
Yes.
that. How can people, proactively get ready so they don't get affected with
Mhm.
that?
Yeah, so another area that we see newer business owners, you have that first or second year you're struggling. But all of a sudden, you rocking it one year. You made money, you know?
Mhm.
So that's a great thing. But when you're making money or profit in a business, one of the things you want to think about are estimated tax payments during the year. There are four of them, or there are four estimated tax payments. The last date for 2023 is going to be the 15th of January, because a lot of people don't really think about it. You know, when we're working as for a W-2, you know, for an employer as a W-2 employee, they're withholding taxes as we're making the money. And then they have certain dates that they're required to pay that tax on our behalf. But
Mhm.
when we are owning a business and we're making that money, we are the business. So we're supposed to be withholding taxes from a certain percentage from that profit that we're making, and then submitting that to the government either at the federal level, which is the IRS, or possibly state, depending on what state you're in, at least those 4 times per year on that schedule. But that last estimated tax date for the IRS, you know, for the federal one, at least, is January the 15th. So I would definitely say if you made money and you haven't paid any of the estimated taxes during a year, you definitely don't want to wait until the last minute to get your taxes done. Like, you should be making that appointment with your preparer right now, so they
Mhm.
can kind of do your numbers to see, okay, I know I'm owing. Let me take advantage of this January payment, you know, for the estimated tax, to make that payment. Because after that point, you may be looking at penalties and interest for late filing payments. And that's a whole nother conversation. But the bottom line is, just don't ignore the federal and state estimated tax payments if you're making money in your business.
And if
You know,
you're
keep
not
those in
making
there.
money, if you're not making
Mhm.
money,
Mhm.
there still is the filing process, correct?
There's still the filing process. You mean like from a just filing your tax return for the business during the at the normal interview, or are you talking about related to the estimated
Well,
taxes
I'm
sharing?
talking about the related estimated tax.
Yeah, so if you're not making money, and that's one thing that another advantage of doing the bookkeeping during the year,
Mhm.
because for example, if I'm doing bookkeeping January, February, March, or whatever, I can clearly see month to month if there is money profit that I'm making or not. If there's not any income, you probably more than likely are not going to owe any estimated taxes for that quarter or whatever. But
Mhm.
if there is income, you may, and you need to have someone either helping you look at that, or, you know, some people just kind of eyeball it. Like we normally, I tell people, if I'm not going to see you until next year, maybe withhold about 25 to 30% of whatever your net is for taxes. And I normally suggest, in addition to when we were talking about business bank accounts, have that checking account, a savings account, and a tax account. And what the tax account is all about is, you know what, take that money out of the profit, put it in a tax account, so that when you see your tax preparer or for the estimated tax periods, you already have money set aside to pay those estimated taxes or pay those taxes that will be due.
Right. Makes sense. Makes sense, folks. Listen, are you listening up? Hope is giving you hope.
Yeah, it's a method to the madness for sure.
Yes, and that's why you're
Yeah.
the expert at it. And, something like this, you leave this to the experts.
Yeah,
Don't
you don't
try
want
to
to mess
figure
with
this
it.
out on your own. So it's like a mechanic, God forbid you think that you could fix an engine or you could fix brakes or whatever. And then, next thing you know,
It's
everything
not
go
going to be
haywire.
pretty. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
tax preparation, bookkeeping,
Hmm.
leave it to the experts like Hope, because it will save you a lot of money, a lot of heartache in the long run. Before we go, like, are there any tax or any other type of law changes
Hmm.
that entrepreneurs should know about? We're going into a new year. There's a lot of changes that's going on. Is there anything applicable to business, to the tax
I
law?
want to say is this. So we're to Yeah, so let me tell you, there was a really important reporting requirement that started as of January 1st, 2024. Okay. So it's called the Beneficial Owners Information Reporting. Okay. Or BOI for short. We'll call it that. But basically, any entity, business entity that is like an LLC, for example, an entity that has registered with the state. So, to set up an LLC, you have to go through the state basically to establish that. Okay. But there's a reporting requirement to an agency called FinCEN. And you can just Google that. But you basically to explain who the beneficial owner is for that LLC. And if you have an existing LLC, you have up to 1 year to report that. But for anyone establishing a new LLC after January 1st of 2024, you have 90 days. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, the crazy thing about this is that there are a couple of things you want to keep in mind with this. And after a certain point, if you're not requiring within the time that you're supposed to, you can face fines up to $500 per day, which
Mm.
nobody wants. So
Right.
I
Yeah.
would definitely say, reach out to me. We have a newsletter, and we're definitely keeping our people updated on that FinCEN reporting requirement. And then also, if you're reporting false information, it can result in up to 2 years of jail time.
Mm.
So, and a big thing about this is about corporate transparency. There are just so many shell companies being set up in the US for laundering money and other illegal activities. This is just the way that the government is just one more layer that Big Brother's watching to basically make sure they know who's behind a lot of these companies that are being set up, that they're legit.
Mhm.
The other thing that I'll end with that is with the BOI reporting, it's free. So I've already had a couple of clients tell me that they've gotten solicitations for phishing type emails where for $500 we'll register your BI, your BOI, or let us register your BOI, enter your private information here, but then they're stealing people's identity and things like that. So I would definitely say just go directly to the fincen.gov website to enter that information. Reach out to someone who can help you and know the correct steps, or of how to do it properly, and don't get scammed doing it.
Right.
As well.
No.
You don't ignore it because you don't want to run into those fees later on.
Yeah, and those fees can definitely hurt a business.
Yeah, $500 a day. Yeah,
It'll
close out any older LLCs you have too, because those will be subject. Everybody and their mama opened up a business during COVID, and they
Mhm.
established those LLCs, which are sitting there and maybe not even being used.
Mhm.
Those two are going to be subject to this reporting requirement, and or those penalties if they're ignored. So don't ignore
Mhm. Don't ignore them. And
them.
you'll get documentation and everything. Like,
Hmm.
how would an LLC know
Hmm.
that that this law is in place?
So it's like on the news. I mean,
Uh-huh.
everybody's talking about it. If you go to TikTok, there's plenty of videos on it, that type of thing. Or if you Google beneficial owner information reporting, you'll
Okay.
definitely find information on it. So they had been announcing it, that it was coming out. Maybe in our circles, we hear a lot of this stuff more, which is one other reason why you definitely want to be connected to someone in the accounting field who's kind of keeping their ear open for these type of things, so that you know about them. We can share information with you, to keep you abreast of everything that's happening. I actually have a podcast called Beyond the Receipts that
Mhm.
we talk about this topic and other topics, financial topics that small business owners will want to know about, just to kind of give you guys like a heads up of all these things coming at you.
Okay.
So,
Well,
yep.
definitely we will have that in the comment box so
Cool.
folks will be able to tune into your podcast. How
Great.
can folks get in contact with you?
Mhm. Yeah. So the best way to get in contact with me is visit our website. And that is going to be bbizsolution.com. And that, okay, you have my link tree there. So my link
Yeah,
tree connection is going to have all of our different, links to social media, the Beyond the Receipts podcast, other ways that you can get in contact with us or follow up if you have additional questions. Yep.
absolutely. No, this is great. So you can find Hope on her, just click on the link that will be in the
Mhm.
comment box, but it's right here if you want to write it down. But by all means, please, all of her services, her podcast is on there as well. She has a Facebook group page there. Make sure that you follow her and and get known. I mean, get the information so you do
Mhm.
not fall into that trap of not having your proper bookkeeping as well as your taxes, in right place.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you want to leave us with, Hope?
Yeah, just stay on top of your numbers. As a business owner, don't be shy about knowing your numbers. And if you don't know your numbers, find somebody to work with that you feel comfortable with who can help you understand your numbers. That's going to help your business grow. It's going to help your business scale and be successful. Like that would be the last thing I say is just don't be afraid to be in touch with your numbers as a business owner. Like it's so much powerful information there that's going to empower you for growth. So don't miss that
Absolutely.
opportunity.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. Hope, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us and giving us some amazing, amazing information to help us stay on top of our taxes and our bookkeeping. Thank you again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching another episode of NetStruc Talks, and I will see you at the next episode. Take care.